Can we move the guy in the back up closer to the front with the blue thing? I like that.
Okay, it works.
He has a spot. James Bible, President, Seattle King County branch of the NAACP and legal redress for the NAACP for the states of Alaska, Oregon, and Washington.
Why did you come down here this afternoon, James?
I came down here in support of a young lady that needs our support. Essentially, what we have in Seattle is a concern in relation to how people of color, people in poverty, and others are treated by law enforcement at this stage. We need to do better all around. These circumstances are troubling, not just the actions of the officer, but also the actions of the young lady. We do work as hard as we can to create a better environment for all people, and we want to be in a place where not only officers feel safe in their communities, but our children feel safe as well. At this stage in the city of Seattle, we don't have an environment in which our children feel safe, our community members feel safe, and we need to improve that. The rank and file in Seattle Police Department are generally positive, hard workers that do an excellent job, but there are those in the department that don't do the job that we hope they would. Traditionally, and I say traditionally, going back 5 or 6 years, what we see is an environment in which some officers are allowed to operate in such a fashion where there's no accountability for their actions. If you review OPA reports, what you will see is rarely is an excessive force complaint filed and accepted by the police department in which they actually recognize the wrongdoing of their officers, and this needs to change. The current law enforcement powers that be, essentially the chief, who has been first or second in command over the course of the past 5 to 10 years, is not the person that we would deem capable of changing this sort of these sorts of circumstances, and we have plenty of work to do in the community. The NAACP and others are prepared to do that work in order to build towards a brighter day. That is the goal. At this stage, we don't necessarily see that.
Would you urge the mayor to start over from square one on finding a new chief? I don't know if you realize the city attorney came out this morning at Marilyn's morning hearing and urged the mayor to not choose Diaz as the new police chief.
Well, I can say that over the past year and a half, we have consistently said that Chief Diaz is not the person to lead Seattle into a brighter day. We maintain that position. It may be possible that we do need to reopen the search. We're in a place essentially where we deserve the best for a top-ranked city. We just need to do better than we do. We have a low crime rate. We have overreaction by police officers. And the troubling thing is that in our particular communities, people of color and those that are in poverty have traditionally been in a place where they don't get the opportunity to see law enforcement as peacekeepers. And we're hoping that we can be in a place where we get to see them as peacekeepers in the future.
Will Marilyn be talking this afternoon?
I do not represent Marilyn. I'm representing the interests of the NAACP in civil and human rights. She has attorneys. I would suggest that she not talk, and I'm hoping that you don't ask her to.
James, what do you think about looking at the videotape? Do you believe that Ms. Levias or Ms. Rosenthal at all escalated the situation, maybe should have acted differently around the officer?
I believe that matters should have been handled differently. I can tell you that I had the experience when I was their age of being thrown against a wall and accused of jaywalking, when for a fact I did not jaywalk. I've never been in trouble outside of that moment. I did not obstruct justice or do anything like that, or swear, scream, or anything. But I understand the frustration and pain when you're treated differently than your fellow classmates and your fellow human beings. And I think that in these circumstances, given the nature of who else was jaywalking with her, she was treated differently.
Do you, when you watch the video, because I think in most situations you can never give 100% blame versus 0% blame when you're looking at different sides of the story. Where would you lay the percentage of blame between the officers and the people on the sidewalk?
That would be an interesting sort of calculation, and I'd have to figure out exactly what sort of formula we would enter into before we get to that place. But I think that history is a good teller. And one of the things that I look at is a case last year involving a young man in a traffic circle in which he punched somebody, and that person eventually died, and he is now in prison. Now, when he punched that person, he indicated that he was seeking to protect 2 girls that had been sprayed by a water hose. That was the impression that he'd gotten, and he went into that situation very angry, and he did something that was wholly inappropriate, and he's paying the consequences for it. That is the danger of a punch. Now, that could have happened in this particular instance based on that particular punch. So in terms of percentage of blame, I would say that we all have work to do. I would say that there are things that needed to be different on that day. I would say that the little girls did not handle the situation perfectly. The NAACP year-round teaches children in classes how to interact with police in a positive fashion, and it doesn't involve, shall we say, power struggles with officers, people with guns, badges, and people that are there or designated to protect us. So we're disappointed in that, but we do understand the circumstances, and at the very least, in terms of the responsibilities that we give officers, they're far more responsible for those sorts of acts because we give them guns, we give them badges, we give them 6 months of training, we give them on-the-job training, and we give them the hope or the faith that they will actually treat our children in such a way where they truly protect them, sometimes even when they're doing wrong.